Good morning, class. I am going to read The Bernstein Bears Get the Gimmies. Look at that. This little sister, she's on the floor, looks like in the store. I wonder what this is going to be about. Look at all that stuff they want. Oh, let me show you pictures first. Look at that. Of course, the members of the bear family who lived in the big treehouse down a sunny dirt road in bear country loved each other. They loved each other very much. Brother and sister bear loved their mama and papa. Naturally, mama and papa loved their cubs. And of course, they were nice to them, as nice as could be. Sometimes they were a little too nice. Sometimes the cubs got too many treats and too many toys and too many rides on the bucking duck at the mall. Maybe that's why brother and sister bear got the Gimmies. Or maybe it's because there were treats, toys, and fun things to do wherever they looked. At the supermarket, at the mall, on TV, just about everywhere. Look at that. Everywhere they look, there's all kinds of stuff. Maybe that's why they began to make a fuss to get what they wanted, especially at the supermarket checkout, where there were always snacks and stacks of candy and other goodies. Now cubs, Mama Bear said as the family got to the checkout line and she saw that old gimme gleam in their eyes. We cannot have a big fuss every time we pass candy. I simply won't stand for it. Oh, how many times have you heard your mom say that? But Mom, whined sister, they have my favorite gumballs, my favorite. And chewy chompers, my favorite, whined brother. Now hush, said Mama, I simply won't listen to another word. That's when Papa Bear smiled. Now, Mama, they're only young once. And he handed the cubs their favorite treat. I think Daddy Bear's about to be in trouble. Okay, here. So now they're leaving the grocery store and they're seeing these things outside. It's only too true, said Mama. As they were leaving the supermarket, they were only young once, but that's all the more reason to learn proper behavior while you're still young. And I certainly think, look, shouted sister, a new ride. Hey, a bucking frog, barked brother. That even looks like the bucking duck. Wow, may we ride it, please, may we? What do you think Mom's gonna say? Now Papa had just bought them treats and he thought that was enough for one day. But the cubs made such a fuss that he sighed, dug into his pocket, and put some money in the slot. Papa looked at Mama and shrugged. Cubs will be cubs, he said. Uh-oh, you think Dad's doing the right thing? Giving them what they want? Something tells me their behavior's about to get a whole lot worse. That may be true that cubs will be cubs, said Mama as they walked across the parking lot to their car. But that's no excuse for jumping up and down and making a scene every time they see something that they want. Look, shouted the cubs once again. Little rubber cats that stick out their tongues when you squeeze them. Cubs, said Mama, that will be quite enough. I do not want to hear another word. Oh my goodness. Mama Bear's had enough. Oh, please, they shouted. May we have them? Please, 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 please. Papa decided it was time to put a stop to all this fussing. Look at that. So she is on the ground. Not cool. And here's the toys that she wants. "Stop that fussing," he said in his loudest Papa Bear voice, but there was so much commotion that they didn't even hear him. Sister was jumping up and down so hard she fell over backwards and started kicking her feet in the air. "Please, please," shouted the cubs so loudly that the whole parking lot was taking notice. Said embarrassed Papa to the toy seller. 2 of those rubber pussycats, please." Oh man, Papa gives in. Papa gives in. The rubber pussycats not only stuck out their tongues when you squeezed them, they went squeak, squeak as well, and they squeak, squeaked all the way home. Look at that. Look at Mama and Papa. They do not look happy. Mama was quite annoyed by the time they got back to the treehouse, but Papa was so angry he could hardly speak. It wasn't until the cubs had gone about their business and Mama had made a pot of tea that Papa's voice came back loud and clear. "Of all the outrageous, disgraceful, embarrassing behavior I have ever seen," he roared, "that selfish, greedy performance by our cubs was the worst. Brother and sister have the worst case of the galloping, greedy Gimmies I have ever seen." Uh-oh. This is not going to end well for them. "Yes," said Mama clearly, sipping her tea. "But have you ever stopped to think about why they have the Gimmies? Perhaps their greedy behavior isn't all their fault. Perhaps it's partly our fault for giving in every time they make a fuss." Papa listened quietly. "Perhaps so," he said. "It's up to us," she continued, "to explain things to them and to help them understand why it's important to not be greedy." Look at that. So they're talking about what's going to happen here. Then Papa called the cubs in for a talking to. He told them why it wasn't a good idea to be selfish and greedy and want everything in sight. "Selfish, greedy cubs," he exclaimed, "can never be happy because you just can't have everything that you want all the time. Life isn't like that. Do you understand?" "Oh yes, Papa, we understand." But do they? We talked about counting their blessings, which meant enjoying the things that they had instead of forever wanting more, more, more. "Does that make sense to you?" he said. "Oh yes, Papa," they said. "It makes a lot of sense." That's when the cubs heard the sound of a familiar car door. It was Grizzly Gramps and Gran come to call. Okay, so there's Grizzly Grams and Gran. Brother and sister ran out the front door, and as Gramps and Gram came up the front steps, they made the biggest fuss yet. "What'd you bring me?" they screamed. "What'd you bring me? What'd you bring me?" That did it. So Papa Bear was just having a talk with them about it, and now all they want is stuff from their grandma and grandpa. "Up to your room," roared Papa. "Up to your room and no TV or treats for a week, a month, a year." The cubs knew it was not time to argue. They scurried up the stairs and into their room. "We have come at a bad time," said Gran. "What about the things we brought with us?" asked Gramps. "A puzzle for brother and a top for sister." "Your presents are going to have to wait," Gramps answered Mom. "I'm afraid brother and sister have a bad case of the greedy galloping Gimmies." "The greedy galloping Gimmies," added Papa, "is the worst case I have ever seen." The cubs cracked their door to listen. Oh my goodness, they were getting trouble. And here, Mama and Papa Bear are talking to Gran and Gramps. "The worst case, you say?" said Gramps, looking Papa in the eye. "Seems to me you were quite a gimme cub yourself when you were little." Brother and sister sneaked to the top of the stairs so that they could better hear. I was," said Papa. "Of course. we didn't have malls or supermarkets back then, but there was the Grizzly General Store. It's a wonderful place. Sold just about everything: honey cake, licorice sticks, molasses, apples, all sorts of toys and novelties. And did you ever have the Gimmies? Oh, did you ever? You wanted everything in sight. Downright embarrassing. Why, it got so bad we couldn't even go there anymore. Oh man, look at that. So Gramps is reminding him that he used to be like that too. So we worked out a deal, said Gran. When it came time for a trip to the general store, you had to decide on a treat ahead of time. It could be a sweet, a toy, or a book, and that was it for the day. Right, said Gramps. And if you came down with the Gimmies, you went right back home and you got nothing. That sounds like a pretty good plan to me, said Mama. Me too, said Papa. The cubs tiptoed back in their room. It sounded okay to them too. The next time the Bear family went to the supermarket, they tried Gran and Gramps' plan, and it worked out. Brother decided he would get a book about dinosaurs, and Sister wanted a new box of crayons. Mom and Papa were very proud when the cubs passed the candy rack without so much as a peep. Brother and Sister were proud of themselves too. But then they heard it, the familiar sound of a cub with a bad case of the Gimmies. The kicking, the screaming cub was just behind them in the checkout. You never heard such a fuss. That outrageous, disgraceful, embarrassing behavior, said Sister. May we leave? Yes, said Brother. Let's get out of here. And now Brother and Sister got rid of that pretty bad case of the galloping, greedy Gimmies. All right. Okay, guys, have a nice day.